Broadcasting live on the UnitedWest.org AM radio network and simulcasting on DirecTV, iHeartRadio, Roku, and the World Wide Web, this is Enemies of the State with Tom Trento.
All right, understand the enemy threat doctrine. Understand the enemy. Oh, hello everybody. Tom Trento here on another wonderful day on WSBR Radio, 7:40 a.m. out of Boca Raton, coming with great information on national security issues. I direct an organization called the United West. We're trying to figure out who still believes in Western principles, which of the countries out there, and how to unite these countries in some cohesive way against a very well-organized, a very lethal enemy, Islamic jihad. And when you have your own administration, right, sir, enabling the enemy, then it makes this task a little bit different, a little bit difficult. But as that great military genius Moon Zhu said way back when.
Who?
Moon Zhu.
Who's Moon Zhu?
He's a Chinese military strategist.
Oh, you mean Sun Tzu?
Moon Zhu. What is it? Moon Zhu?
I like that much better. I like
Neptune Zhu?
I like the moon much better.
What's the guy's name?
Sun Tzu.
Sun Tzu. Oh, I thought it was Moon Zhu. Hey, I had the planets reversed there. It always cracks me up.
I know you know this. So.
It always cracks me up when someone knows nothing about anything quotes Sun Tzu.
And they always quote it wrong, which is really good. It's like you only got half of it.
You got a guy who let's just say, hasn't been involved in the difficult things in life, and he's up there speaking. And, well, as Sun Tzu says,
I know, he's like, yeah.
Whoa, we got to listen to this guy.
Like,
so
know your enemy. Forget the other half of it, which is know yourself first.
I prefer to follow the teachings of Moon Zhu anyway.
Moon Zhu. Yeah.
He's more along our lines here at the UnitedWest.org. And yes, you can keep the show on the road, ladies and gentlemen, a little donation every month. $9, $18, $36, $25. Jewish people like to give in increments of $9. Christians, $25. What does that say? Does that mean anything? But Christians usually give $25, $50, $75, $100, or more serious stuff. Whatever. Everything is greatly needed and much appreciated. You can go to our website, theunitedwest.org, in the top right-hand corner, donate securely. Today, we're continuing our study. This is like me teaching a class when I used to do that in graduate school. And then I left and became an associate professor, teaching philosophy and theology and all of these things. We're teaching a class today, but my classes, we always have a good time. It's not like, okay, kids, take out your pencils and let's look at this. It's, all right, you get on that side, you get inside. We're going to fight. Whoever wins at the end, that's who's got the right answer.
And we're going to draw a circle in the middle, and we're going to have a match.
That's the way I used to run my classes. I mean, I really had some very interesting classes. But, Moon Zhu has said you got to know the bad guy. And I'll tell you what, right now, if we can name the bad guy, and we can, Islam. The bad guys are coming out of the system of Islam. Oh, Tom, is every Islami a bad guy? No, not every.
I like salami.
Not every salami. Not every Islami or Muslim, however you say it. Not everyone is Mohammedans. Not everyone has bought into the initiation of active organic jihad in their life. Some have taken jihad, the doctrine of fighting a holy war in many capacities, and some have simply taken that doctrine and said, I don't like that stuff. Simply because a human being is born into a Muslim family does not de facto make them in particular a jihadi. What it does, it introduces them into a system that necessitates jihad, but you've got to make a conscious behavioral decision to say, I want to participate in jihad. You've got to do that. And, many Muslims don't want to do that. They want to go get girlfriends and they want to go to Disney World. They want to do all the things you're not supposed to do.
That is not Islamic.
That's the clash of civilizations and the clash of reality, Imam Abdullah. What can I tell you?
Jihad is an essential pillar of Islam.
It is. It is. The sixth pillar and the most important, many people say. What do you do? And for those of you who maybe are new to the show here at 11 minutes after 4 on a beautiful Florida afternoon, and if the world is the way it ought to be, our team right now is in Israel, and you are listening to a special feature on the magazine Dabiq. This is part 2 of about a 20-part series that we're
5
teaching
million part series
on an intelligence source that we're going to tell you about in a minute. But Imam Abdullah, he is
my infidel friend.
Imam Abdullah is a Pakistani imam. He's a Sunni. You're a Sunni, right?
Of course.
The world is made up of about 1.3 billion Muslims. About 85% are Sunni.
1.5 at least.
Not quite.
Oh, I thought you were Shia. Weren't you? I thought.
Please do not insult me, you animal.
The Shia, for our new listeners or viewers, they make up the minority. But you know what? The guy with the bigger gun wins the battles, and Iran right now is winning the battles of controlling, in a hegemonic manner, the Middle East. That's what's happening. So, Abdullah, what do you have to think about Iran and the Persians and the Shias and all of that stuff?
A filthy heretic scum, and I am very upset to see your administration here, starting with the Obama, yielding to them in the nuclear talks, which are continuing as we speak. I believe that if they do not allow for the inspections, that you should basically bomb them to hell.
Okay. This is one of the beauties, ladies and gentlemen, of understanding, as Munzu said, understanding your enemy's threat doctrine. And when you understand it, Islamic doctrine, and you see within the Ummah means family, within the family of Islam, there are two factions that hate one another.
Hatfields and McCoys. Yes.
The Hatfields and the McCoys, diabolically. Worse than our civil war here in the United States, the North and the South. Infinitely worse than that. We fought a battle over the issue of slavery, over the issue of states' rights, and one side lost, one side won, and the other side still isn't totally with the program, if you've been to Alabama lately, but they're not getting jihad all over the North, and things have settled down quite a bit since 1863. Conversely, for 1,400 years, there's an internal and never-ending battle because it's for the essence of Islam. Either 15% of 1.5, I'll go with 1.5 for today, somebody do the math, 15% of 1.5 billion are going to hell according to Islamic doctrine.
225 million.
All right, so 250 million people are going to hell if the Sunnis are right. Conversely, if the Shia are right, 1 billion Sunni Muslims are going to hell. This is according to each other's doctrine. The Christians and Jews haven't even participated in this debate yet, and now you got 250 million being wiped out, or 1 billion being wiped out, depending on the theological reality of Sunni versus Shia. And simply stated,
it would be over 1 1/4 billion. Do not shortchange us a quarter billion, you infidel.
And it's very simple. If you want to understand why these guys are fighting each other and why they think each other is the heretic, the Sunnis hate the Shia, Shia hate the Sunnis. The Shia basically are Iranians and Hezbollah, Lebanese, a few other little factions here and there. But when Muhammad died, there was a big question. All right, now who's in charge? The big guy's gone. He's not here anymore. He checked out. The Jews poisoned him. That's as the story goes. Is that true, Abdullah? The Jews poisoned him?
It is quite possible. That is what is believed by many, yes.
In any event, unlike Christian theology that says Jesus is not in his tomb, he rose again. That's why we have faith in a risen Savior. According to Islam, Muhammad is in his grave. His bones are rotting underground. The guy is dead. Boom. Finute. Done.
There's actually a good graphic coming up here, Tom.
Oh, we have a good graphic?
Yeah, it says
there it is.
Sunni versus Shia. What do Sunnis believe about Shias? Shias are not Muslims. They do not represent Islam.
Wait, read that over again. This is great.
Because Sunni versus Shia, the opposing viewpoints from the Sunnis. Shias are not Muslims.
Wait. Let's have the Sunni read the Shia stuff, and Mark, you're the Shia reading the Sunni stuff.
Come over here. Come over here.
See if you can do that.
See if we can do this. Okay, here we go. Go ahead. You're Sunni.
Abdullah, what do you think about the Shia?
This is what this graphic says. Shias are not Muslims. They don't represent Islam. Shias are enemies of Islam and Muslims. May Allah punish and kill them all. Inshallah.
Is that what that says?
Yes. And then what do Shias believe about Sunnis? Sunnis are not Muslims. They are extremists. Terrorists. Sunnis are enemies of Islam and Muslims. May Allah punish and kill them all.
You're saying the same thing.
I know.
Okay. Let's go make sense out of the Middle East, okay? And the Jews are the apartheid crazies.
That is the only thing that we can agree upon, at least for a moment. Says as much as you see here that the Shia and the Sunni hate each other very much and forever, the one thing is if we could simultaneously attack Jews, we will get along for a few minutes.
There you go,
absolutely.
Right. What it comes down to, folks.
For instance, you take Israel, and Hamas is clearly a Sunni, being a Muslim Brotherhood organization, and Hezbollah, the filthy Shia in the north, in Lebanon, would gladly work together in a dual-front attack against Israel.
Yeah, they would. They would, and that's Israel's concern. That's the United States' concern, because as things go in Israel, from a national security perspective, we know they're going to go here in the United States.
And if you wonder why Iraq is attacking ISIS right now over there, it's because of this Sunni Shia thing. They loathe each. It's about one step below how much they loathe each other as much as they loathe Jews. Jews are first, obviously. America is right there in a close tie with the Jews, but after that, it's pretty much raw hatred between these two.
Yeah, they got a clean house initially, and Iraq, which is really a tripartite region. The north are the Kurds, and the Kurds are running their own deal, been doing it for a long time. Then the central part, you have the Sunnis who hate the Shia, and then down south, which is close to Iran, you have the Shia. So you got this battle of the Sunni Islamic State warriors in the central part, and even in Mosul. And then they're fighting the Iranians now, who are protecting the Shia down the bottom. And the Iranians have their eyes right now on two things, on Jerusalem, obviously, but initially, they get their eyes on Mecca and Medina.
Yeah,
they don't buy into this thing. A bunch of fat, bearded, Saudi, desert dwellers 100 years ago decided that their family is going to control the two holy cities. The Persians, who've been here longer than the House of Saud, they don't buy into this thing. Why these fatzos who go to Monte Carlo and gamble, why do they run the holy sites? We got to run the holy sites. The Iranians have their sights on Saudi Arabia. And the Saudi Arabians now are running to what two countries for help?
Jordan and Israel.
And the United States.
And Israel. Jordan is useless. Why would the Saudis run to Jordan? Jordan could not. Jordan could not survive a week without the help of the Israelis and the U.S. at all. Jordan is bleh.
Well, I interviewed General Farkash. I think that aired already. And he said, when we questioned him about the strength of Jordan, he said that the Jordanian army is pretty good. I think he said there was 4 battalions. But he also said that Israel is helping Jordan maintain its internal security because of the Muslim Brotherhood's desire to overthrow King Abdullah.
King Abdullah would not last 1 week without Israeli and U.S. security forces.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, the big idea on our show today at 20 minutes after 4 in Florida, 20 minutes after the hour on the East Coast, it's 4 o'clock. The big idea is that the craziness that goes on in the Middle East 100 years ago could not affect in any dramatic way your life. So you didn't have to worry too much about it. Now with instantaneous communication, where there could be a call for jihad in Yemen, a Yemenis call for jihad in Chicago. Go do something in Chicago now.
Twitter's great.
Because of the instantaneous communication, these connections of jihad are going to occur more and more and more. To the extent Americans understand this and can prepare themselves for a very dangerous and destructive world in which we live in, it's to that degree you're going to protect your life, your property, your family. So it's very, very important. Yeah, we'd like to all be talking about, the next edition of American Idol and, whether Mary or Joe's going to win. But this is the world we live in, and somebody's got to assume the heavy burden.
Try to have American Idol in Saudi Arabia.
Is it even on? Is it even on anymore? Yeah, I guess it is. All right, so let me explain the quick difference between Iran, between the Shia and Sunni. Then we'll get into the
Well, here's the map you have right here,
Khalifa book.
There's the map of the whole area. You have the dark green, which is all the Shia, and the light green, which is all the Sunni. And you can see the domination, and interspersed between all that is ISIS, which is actually a Sunni branch, which is actually started out in Syria and moving its way across to the right, to the east. And that's where it's come in conflict with Iran, who is basically... Western Iraq is basically a Shia now, so it's very.
That picture tells a lot. If you're listening on WSBR 740 AM, or if you're over in Tampa Bay, 1010 in Tampa Bay.
May I say hello to my good friend Hassan Shibli
WHFS.
and Ahmed Badir. Hello, boys.
WHFS Radio over there, 1010. Hi, guys. If you're listening, we want you to go ultimately to theunitedwest.org. Watch the show, because it's actually a television show that's simulcast on the radio. But we have all these wonderful pictures, and you can enjoy the visual candy we present to you, including a close-up of POTUS. All right. If there was a mafioso, and if they had to transfer power, it could go something like this. When the big capo dies, they all get in a meeting. Okay, who's going to take over? Well, let the capo's son take over. He's earned his bones. He's done it. It's his blood. His blood is in there. He's the new boss, the son. Or if you don't have a son, the nephew, the closest blood relative to the big guy. He takes over. But you always got a couple of guys in there to go, whoa, whoa, whoa. The kid's a schmuck. He doesn't know what's going on.
I'll throw that kid a beat.
Yeah, he can't handle it. He's tried. We get him jobs, and he falls down. We got to have a vote. This is a democracy. Let's put this thing up to a vote. We'll vote for the new head, the new top guy, the new capo. Well, that's what happened after Mohammed died. There was a regional council, and they had to figure out who's the boss, who takes over. And there was an argument that Mohammed's bloodline should be the way that the authority of Islam is transferred. And his nephew Ali was the next guy in line, and a bunch of people said, Ali's the new boss. He's the new Mohammed.
I'll throw him a beating. He don't know nothing.
And then the other guy said, I'll throw him a beating because he ain't knowing nothing. And they said, there's no way. He's a dope. We got to vote. And they voted for Abu Bakr. And Abu Bakr won the vote, and he said, I'm in charge. And Ali said, no, I'm in charge. And there you go, 1,400 years of insanity.
Yes. Ali was a pathetic punk, so to say, and they give it to the rightful man, the man who is most capable. That is why the Shia have been wrong for 1,400 years, is after Muhammad, they give it to a little punk.
Yep, that's
and he steered in the wrong way. So how, if you're on the wrong path, from 1,400 years ago, how can you be considered to be doing the right thing today when you've taken a wrong turn 1,400 years ago?
And guess what the solution to that is?
Kill them
Kill
all.
them.
Kill them all.
And let Allah sort them out, basically. They each want to kill the other. And, and sadly, let's think about this.
Tom hasn't even seen that.
You've seen the graphic yet?
Oh, that's great. Look at that. Look at the graphic that's up. A cannon coming out of the dome of a particular mosque. Two mosques next to each other, one Shia, one Sunni, with two big cannons blowing each other up. That is Islam, the essence of Islam. How anybody in their right mind can logically evaluate the empirical evidence, the historical evidence, the biblical evidence, the scientific evidence, the geopolitical evidence, and conclude, Islam is true, is mind-boggling to me. But then to take it a step further and say, this particular strand of Islam is true, is simply beyond logical comprehension, which is why Muslims are not allowed to logically analyze or question their faith. They are petitio principi. They beg the question. They have to believe before they examine the faith. And this is a challenge to all Muslims listening.
Not much different than Nancy Pelosi.
You can't, that's true. You can't pass 101 science, logic, history, computer, anything, applying the same epistemology, the same system of not knowing that you apply to Islam. You can't pass anything in school to get by. You can't drive a car using that sort of language. Yet you base your eternal destiny on this flawed and failed system.
And we haven't gotten to the 12ers yet.
And we haven't even gotten to the 12ers yet. Maronda me.
That is why you cannot give them the bomb, Tom.
I was going to say, let's give these guys atomic weapons. That makes a lot of sense.
At least us in Pakistan, we've had the bomb for years.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you, Abdullah. This is serious. I know we do a little edutainment. We had educate and
Yes,
entertain on
that
the
is why
show.
we get paid the big bucks here, yes?
Let me ask you this: if someone were to be able to make a nuclear bomb, and they're not that big actually, and you can put it in a Ryder truck, Gomisigyam Ryder truck, you understand Ryder truck?
Of course.
Okay, Ryder truck or Penske truck.
I
or
am not
U-Haul
stupid, Tom. I am Muslim. I am not stupid.
truck. And you put it in there. Do you think if somebody called you up and said, Abdullah, can you find a brother willing to drive this truck into a crowd of Jews somewhere? Do you think you could find somebody who would do that?
Tom, if I were to propose that to
You'd
the
be
people
arrested.
in my mosque, I would be trampled with people volunteering. Could I find one? I could not find anyone that would not.
So you think it'd be relatively easy to find a volunteer to drive a truck with a nuclear bomb into it to a downtown Tel Aviv?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
No problem whatsoever.
Okay.
They would be lining up. Do you realize they would ensure Jannat for their entire families?
Okay.
Paradise for the whole
Paradise,
family forever.
yes.
Of course. There is none.
Wait a minute. I'm talking to a Sunni Muslim. Do you think the same holds true in the logical, analytical Persian world of Shia Muslims?
Yes, you could certainly find volunteers on the Shia side. Absolutely.
Okay. So let's give them a bomb too. So
Yeah, no, I do not want to because I'm afraid they would use it on us.
It's about like
I do not trust these Iranian Persian Shias. They are filthy heretics and they believe in end times. When you believe in end times, the mutually assured destruction, it does not work. All you're really doing is assuring destruction.
Well, this is what drives me crazy about liberals is they're so hot and bothered about keeping guns off the street, guns and guns and guns and guns. Yet they want to give a nuclear bomb to crazy wacko
That is very
nutjobs.
Your politicians
the logic
here.
makes absolutely zero sense.
May I say your politics here in America is very strange. It almost seems, as an outsider, as a non-citizen, let me say, it appears sometimes that your own administration works against its people.
I'm thinking here. I was raised in a very logical, very sophisticated, logical house, Sicilian home. And I didn't know it was sophisticated and logical, But,
Forget about it.
Yeah, I would ask my mother a question, and she would say, "Go figure it out." Yeah, if you don't get it, she'd yell at me and make me figure something out, and I'd come back and give her the wrong answer, and she'd go, "What are you, nuts? Get the right answer before I hit you with the broom," right? I had a tough mother. And that process of having to think things through and make sure I got the answers right and make sure they were consistent. What are you, stu-nut? She say, how could you conclude like that when it's so obvious, the two things? That process has blessed and cursed me and others. Wouldn't it be nice to bathe in the bath of ignorance? Not having a mind that sees A and B and C and just be able to be like a leftist and kind of bubble around.
You should try Islam. There's nothing to think about.
That's right. Thou shalt not think is the first commandment of Islam.
Hope and change, and the world is good, and everybody likes everybody except George Bush. Everything's his fault, and the Jews, it's all their fault. And just go through life
Hillary's
like that.
great.
And not say, well, that doesn't make sense what you're saying. Not be plagued with
thought?
Yeah, with consistent thought. Wouldn't that ignorance, bathing in that ignorance, be bliss?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Unbelievable. So,
if you think ignorance is bliss, you should try Islam.
Oh, man. All right, well, here's where we are on this wonderful day at 32 minutes after. We're laying the groundwork for the instability and insanity of the Middle East. And again, because we're not blessed with ignorance, we cannot avoid the call that has been put on our life to go to these places, examine these issues, and make sense out of them, and work to put shows together, information, to mobilize the West in a united way, to protect America, to protect Americans in a united way. Yeah. People think we're
united Netanyahu.
United, yeah, Netanyahu. So we're doing that work, and today we're going to continue in our study.
We're going to get to it finally.
Of looking at one side of the Islamic world, not the Persian side, not the Shia side, not the Hezbollah side, the Muslim Brotherhood side, the Hamas side, the Al-Qaeda side, the Sunni side.
Don't forget our new brothers, Boko Haram, our raisin-headed friends.
Raisin-headed friends, right? That's according to the Quran, not our.
Disparagingly about.
No, that's just out of the Quran.
Afro-Americans in.
No, that's out of the Hadith. They refer to them as raisin heads. So
yes, for our African-American friends who are gravitating toward Islam for whatever reasons, understand you are called raisin heads in a derogatory way in the Quran because Muslims do not like.
It's actually
black
Hadith.
people.
It's actually.
Well,
Hadith.
it is more the Arabs do not like. Arabs do not like the
Muslims,
raisin heads.
The Arabs do not like.
There is a hierarchy. There is a hierarchy, and Arabs, of course, being the Sauds, are of the highest.
If that were true, though, the Arabs would enslave blacks.
They do.
Oh, yes, they did, Tom, for years.
They still do.
Who do you think sold them to America, Tom?
Silly me.
Hey,
are you not aware that it was Arabs selling the raisin heads to America?
Hey, all you World Cup fans out there, look what they're doing over there building the World Cup stadium, how they're enslaving all these blacks to go work on the World Cup stadium and the World Cup.
And they're starting to protest a little bit, and protest they ought to. All right, here's where we are. We're looking at an intelligence document that 20 years ago would have cost $1 million to generate this sort of data, intelligence. For simple technical purposes, when we refer to information, that's open source data. When there's open source data that's pretty easy to find, that's information. When we use the term intelligence, that used to mean closed source, that you had to go behind the scenes in some clandestine or some unique way to gather, then compile, then analyze, then determine what it all means. But now it's the lines are being blended between open source, between information and open source intelligence. And this document that we're going to look at right here, Dabiq, is the name of a new magazine. It's a regular periodical, about monthly, and it's containing data that would have been considered intelligence just a few years ago. But the world has changed so rapidly that the producers of Dabiq, which is ultimately the Islamic State, and Al-Hayat media center, they have their own media center, they believe now that if they provide this intelligence, formerly intelligence, now information, in a context in which they want, they accomplish two objectives. And this is what we're analyzing now. So we're moving our show a little bit from our general conversations to a systematic study of Islamic intelligence designed to be propaganda that cuts two ways. Propaganda is information designed to change a particular way in which someone thinks. And the material we're looking at in Dabiq is designed to change the way a Muslim thinks about jihad, that it ought not be put on the shelf. It ought to be taken down, the concept, the Quranic concept of jihad, dusted off, and then imbibed into their life, taken into their heart, their soul, their mind, their physical features, their everything. They become a jihadi. That's what Dabiq is trying to do.
Not like that crappy version of jihad that CARE pushes.
You mean the one where their jihad is to...
Going to the gym and getting your kids to school. That is not jihad, by the way. That is crap.
CARE, our buddies over at CARE, Council on American Islamic Relations, did an ad campaign not too long ago where they said, this is the real jihad. Getting your kids, the mom with a nice hijab in her family sedan, getting her kids to school on time, that's her jihad. Or
what's your jihad?
Your belt buckle a little too tight. How about losing 10 pounds to be your jihad? Oh, not quite Dabiq's view of jihad and the Islamic State, kill the infidel. Not quite the same jihad. But the other purpose of the propaganda of Dabiq is to do exactly what the call to Islamic jihadis is. Strike what into the fear of whom?
Fear into the infidels and the non-believers.
The unbelievers.
Strike fear into the hearts of the unbelievers. That's what this magazine is supposed to do.
I have what your silly CARE, what they consider the jihad.
Let's see CARE's view of jihad versus the Islamic State's view of jihad.
CARE's.
Here's CARE's.
And this...
Oh, my God.
It have a woman in glasses and a hijab with the dumbbell in her hand. And it says, my jihad is to stay fit despite my busy schedule.
What's yours?
That is her jihad.
And
then the next one is, my jihad is to build friendships across the aisle.
What's yours?
And the third one that they show here is, my jihad is not to judge people by their cover.
What's
that
yours?
That is not jihad. Islamic State, no jihad.
No, look, CARE guys, that's really lame.
That's worth a couple.
But here, look, Nihad Awad and Corey Saylor, whatever the heck his name is, and Ibrahim Hooper. I mean, these guys, they present themselves as men. That's a total sissified, total sissy view of jihad. So I can't believe these Muslim men.
They had to be rolling over laughing.
They got to be laughing when they put this thing together.
Look at this one. This is a really good one here.
They got to be laughing their asses off. I would lose so much respect. The little respect we have for them, I would lose so much respect if they truly believe that sissified stuff is really jihad.
Of course they know better.
They know better.
These are Islamic, very well-versed Islamic men.
It's our secret, Nihad, okay?
Nihad Jihad Awad is very versed in Islam, and he knows this is crap.
He knows better.
This is jihad.
He knows that Islamic State.
That's jihad right there.
Khalifa declared, with guns and
knives
and everything.
Here's where we're going with Dabiq. In order to follow along in our teaching on an intelligence briefing on the mindset of the Islamic State as it's presented to the West, you need to go back to part 1, which we did the other day. This is going to be a multi-part series because we did the first 3 or 4 pages. Now we're, by way of quick review, initially a newsletter was put out. It had such great results by so many people, they said we need to do a periodical. They have produced a periodical. They're up to number 7. We're looking at number 1, which came out in the early part of 2014. We wanted to start there. If you're really jazzed on this stuff, you can look up Dabiq. Just Google the word D-A-B-I-Q, and you'll get all 7 editions, and you should read them all as we do. Dabiq
Excellent reading.
Excellent reading. Dabiq is the name of a town in northwestern Syria, but it's the name of a town where one of the end times battles is going to take place. Muslims will be losing, and then through a miraculous intervention of Allah and Muhammad and Jesus, big battle fought, Muslims win, and everything becomes Islamic after that. But it starts in the city of Dabiq. That's why this is so important. To get to that point, there needs to be a coordinated structure of the Ummah, the family. Right now, 1.3 billion Muslims, all kind of doing their own thing in 56 countries. There are 56 Islamic countries. There's Muslims in every single country. They got to get organized. So you have to have a caliphate to get organized. And Dabiq is the magazine that has launched the statement that the caliphate has been declared. And that's what we're going to look at right now, 42 minutes after the hour. On page 6 and 7 of the magazine itself, the authors say, guess what? The Khilafah, the caliphate, has been declared. And we go, okay, what's that all about? And you look at the picture right there. On the left-hand side, what do you guys see? What's the excitement?
The black flag of Al-Qaeda, guns.
Not Al-Qaeda.
I'm sorry. Well, it is Al-Qaeda. It's ISIS. ISIS, Al-Qaeda.
They're fighting
Islamic
Al-Qaeda.
State.
It's the same thing.
Yes, it is. It is.
It's the same thing. You got the black flag of ISIS, Islamic State, Al-Qaeda, because it was Al-Qaeda in Iraq, and then they morphed into the Islamic State. And you see them up there in combat fatigues on top of a military truck.
What kind of military truck?
Yeah, that's kind of key.
What kind of military truck is it?
An American one?
Oh, an American military truck that they've captured in their raids. And what else do you see about it?
That was hardware we left in Iraq. They came into
Mosul.
Iraq.
Actually, Mosul, I think.
They came into Iraq. They defeated the Iraqi army, which acted much like the Italian army usually does, or the French army. They run away. And
well, they didn't expect to take the town. When they attacked Mosul, they didn't expect to take the town at all. They thought they were going to just do insurgency and do some blowing up of some things, and then everybody started running away. And so they said, "Whoa!" If they're all running away, so they all get. It was actually a brilliant military maneuver. They actually got all their people together and just rushed in there and took it. And they were like, "Oh God, we took it."
And the visual representation of what they do is so critical for their propaganda purposes that they put in the context not you would think the announcement of a new religious family. You would think in the Christian world there'd be a mother and father and children, kneeling before a cross praying or united. Right. Here you have guys with machine guns on military vehicles, and this is the essence of the caliphate. It's a state. Religion is secondary to the establishment of a state. Now,
can I tell you what I see visually also that's pretty funny?
What?
These guys are in full fatigues on a, commercial military truck. One guy's barefoot and the other guy's wearing sandals.
That's funny. That is. I missed that.
That is funny. Yeah, that is funny.
I guess, Obama was right about boots on the ground.
Yeah, boots on the pants on the ground, pants on the ground. All right, well, here's what the magazine says now. On the 1st of Ramadan, 1435 H, we learned about H in episode 1. H means the hijrah, the trip that Muhammad took from Mecca to Medina in 622. That's the start of the Islamic calendar.
When you started to kick ass instead of being slapped around.
Trying to be a nice guy. And it's 1435 years in the Islamic moonbat calendar. 435 years after that
the
event.
moon god calendar, right?
And that was actually last year. The caliphate was declared last year, June of last year, actually. The 1st of Ramadan, 1435 H, the revival of the caliph, the Khilafah was announced by the spokesperson for the Islamic State, Sheikh Abu Mohammed al-Danani al-Shami. The good news was followed by the first official speech of Amir Mumin Abu Bakr al-Husani al-Qawashi al-Baghdadi.
This guy.
That's that guy coming up there. That's Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. They all have long names that associate to their region, where they're born, all of this. The announcements filled the street of the Islamic State with faithful joy. Now, may Allah continue to fill the hearts of the Muslim Ummah, the family, with the news of victory, thereby guiding them towards the obedience of the Messenger Muhammad, peace be upon him, the path to Jannah, to heaven. Below are some of the most important excerpts from the two speeches. Now, before we get into the speeches of Caliph Ibrahim, who ironically took the name of Ali or of the first elected caliph after Muhammad?
Elected, silly man.
Yeah, the Sunnis took the Caliph Ibrahim took the name of Abu Bakr, who was the first one elected after Muhammad died, on the Sunni side. So he said to the world,
Through the bloodline.
not only, through the selection process.
Oh, okay.
Ali on the Shia side was a blood relative, a nephew, the punk.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, he said the way authorities handed down is by a selection process and by some other factors, as we're going to see as we get into our study here. But he said, not only have I been selected, but I follow Abu Bakr. I follow Abu Bakr, the number one guy. So he says that. And in the Khilafah declared in Dabiq, they go right into calling themselves the Islamic State. They're not calling themselves what anymore?
ISIS or ISIL or anything else like that.
What was the initial name that they used?
ISIL.
Yeah, ISIS.
ISIS.
Islamic State of Iraq
right.
and Syria. The Islamic State, IS, of Iraq and Syria. Then they moved to ISIL, which
Obama did that move.
the president still uses.
Which includes Israel.
Yeah, what is
Levant?
The Islamic State of Iraq. Iraq is very, very important. And the Levant, which includes more than Syria, includes Lebanon, includes parts of Egypt, whole section there. So they basically said, we're in Iraq and Syria. Then as they started to find their metal, sow their oats, switching the metaphor, taking territory and chopping off heads, they said, you know what, we're spreading this thing out to the Levant, and we're including more. It's that simple. And then phase 3, they call themselves
The Islamic State.
Islamic State, because they have a central governing entity in Syria right now. And they said, we got our headquarters, we got we have our seat of government. Now, what's keeping us from declaring a caliphate of Islam throughout the world? This is the Islamic State. It's got to start somewhere. Think of it logically. If there's going to be complete control by Muslims of the world, this has happened in the past. Well, how's that happen? Look at the 2 previous jihads where Islam controlled the world through the known world through the sword. Were there areas not under control? Sure, in some rainforest somewhere that nobody cared about. But the operational activity of the world was controlled by Islam in 2 different historic periods. To Muslims, this has to happen again. It's part of their prophecy and part of their life. If it's going to happen, it has to start somewhere. Where else would it start? In Washington, D.C.? No, it's going to start.
We're doing well there.
Doing well there is right. It's being augmented in Washington, D.C., but it's starting right in Syria, which is part of the prophecy of this, and right in Iraq. And it's got to grow. So these guys said, after they started having military victories and started providing social services, we got a state. What's keeping us from declaring it?
Let's roll, baby.
Who's fighting this? Who has fought them? Anybody? I mean,
The Iranians.
Well, on the Sunni side, Have there really been any serious arguments against these folks not being
How about the Free Syrian Army?
Now Benghazi and Hillary and all of that comes into play. You know, the Saudis are yelling and making some noise. Oh no, they're not. They don't control anything. They got a little vested interest in their own necks. Okay, we would wager to say if you took a vote of Sunni Muslims worldwide, what do you think the figures would be that yes, this is an Islamic State and we're for it? What do you think the numbers would be?
Over 80%.
Yeah.
Well, wasn't there a Pew poll out on the view of is it Islamic or something like that?
Well, there was a Pew poll on Al Qaeda, and they did it here in the United States, and something like 25% of the 2.3 million Muslims,
6 million
in America, 2.3 million, 25%, which is what, 500,000, supported the jihad, the violent jihad tactics of Al Qaeda here in the United States. They theoretically supported it, and a smaller percentage would participate in it. And we did the calculations, and we said there's several thousand violent jihadis per state, not per capita, but just per state, ready to go kinetic, to go real jihad when they believe the time is right. That's the situation here in the United States of America.
That map we had the other day showed that.
Yep.
Where they were flocking out of all these different areas over towards ISIS. And yeah, this map right here.
So the unbelievable big idea, dramatic development in the past year while you Americans was sleeping was a bunch of guys over in Syria and Iraq declared a state. And now that there's a state, people are joining the state to kill the number one country standing in their way, which is what?
The United States.
In Israel.
The number one country is the United States of America. So this is very important for all Americans to understand this stuff. What typically happens, you get so frightened that you want to disassociate yourself from reality and go play in your backyard planting flowers. That's okay. Send us a check at least, and we'll do the fighting for you. How about
well, it's almost the same exact scenario before World War II, where everybody denied that this rise in Germany with an anti-Semitic, Jew-hating, world-dominating, wishful world-dominating force was taking off. We all buried our heads.
It's human nature. It's really human nature.
We buried our heads in the sand.
It's like when I was a little kid.
A long time ago.
A long time ago. So a little kid. I still do this in hotel rooms, I think. I would go check the closet for ghosts or some sort of strange things. We had a closet in my bedroom. And I would open the door real carefully and put my hand like this. God help me if I touched a ghost. But I would do this almost every night. Clear it in my mind. Okay, nothing is in the closet, and go to bed.
Did you check under the bed?
I did not check under the bed. But that was my hiding place for my mother. When she would get mad at me, she would chase me, and I was always slight framed and very fast.
Oh, how times change.
I'm going down, I'm going down. And I was very fast, very athletic, and we had hardwood floors in our house in Newark, New Jersey. I perfected the capability, believe it or not, as a 5-year-old, I guess, of running, sliding on the hardwood floor and going right under the bed all the way to the corner.
Did you ever get splinters in your tilches?
No, the floor was polished very nicely. We were a moderate family, a hardworking, middle-class, middle-class family. And but I would do that outwitting my mother. I was not aware of the fact that she had easy access to a broom with the thistle things at the end of it, and she would just go like this, and it was like a pitchfork. Okay, get out, Tommy, before I hit you again. Okay, go fix that now. Whatever.
I'll stop hitting you with the broom. Now let me hit you with the belt.
I was capital punishment. Was not ignored in my home.
Corporal punishment.
Corporal punishment.
They didn't kill you. They didn't kill you.
Capital punishment was threatened but corporal punishment was used. And I stayed out of trouble most of my life. So, but in any event, once the caliphate was announced and the state was announced, can you imagine? Just think of this. And here's the national security dilemma we have right now. How do we overcome the psychological and psychosomatic power behind a young Muslim boy or girl, an older one, anyone who's lived this degraded life, this semi-useless life from their own perspective? Talk to them anywhere in the world. And all of a sudden there's hope and change in a very masculine, very virile, very glorified, very poetic, and very public dynamic. That's your new life here. And you're with other brothers, and you get weapons, and you can fight, and you can kill for Allah, and you can do all of this. And then, if you do all of that, and if, unfortunately, you meet your end, you're immediately brought into paradise and blessed and graced with an overabundance of wonderful things, including women sexually for your appetite
forever,
unendingly.
Forever.
Yes. That is why it is so easy to recruit.
That's the
How
reason.
do you defeat
Well,
the
first of all, you
draw
have
of
to
that?
define that enemy. And if you define that enemy like Moon Tzu said, or understand your enemy, but first of all, you do have to understand yourself. You do have to understand who you are to be able to understand that enemy. If you do not have the ability or the rationale or the capability of waking up and looking at the world for what it is, then you're never going to understand that enemy. And this is a two-pronged thing, what Moon Tzu said. So.
And it is. And our work here at the United West, we're proponents of killing the Islamic State warriors with weapons through the various authorized governments. I mean, we're doing that. That's necessary.
Not jobs for jihadis?
Yeah,
jobs for jihadis.
No, as you know, if we were going to be kind to the administration with their jobs for jihadis, that's a tiny part of a possible reformulation of what life ought to mean for human beings. That's a tiny, tiny part. But because they miss the jihad part and all the others, they focus on a very tiny element, making it the major element. If the guys had jobs, everything would be fine.
Yeah,
And
just
they-
like Jihad John.
And they make
right?
themselves comical.
It makes about as much sense as jobs for Nazis.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, jobs for Nazis. This is the solution to the Nazi problem.
They make themselves comical instead of saying, look, we got to kill them. We have to have propaganda, information warfare against the ideology. And then there has to be opportunities for people. You know, you put these things in order. And our document, Secure Freedom Strategy through Center for Security Policy, we lay all of this out. But in our little bit of remaining time, in part two of our study,
We almost got through a page.
and there's only 7 editions. Each has about 50 pages. So I'll see you here in 20 years. We'll be doing the same thing. Glad tidings for the Muslim Ummah. I'll leave you with one verse. O Muslims everywhere, glad tidings to you and expect good. Raise your head high, for today, by Allah's grace, you have a state and a Khalifa, which will return your dignity, your might, your rights, your leadership. In a state where the Arab and the non-Arab and the white man and the black man and the Eastern and the Western are all brothers. It is a Khalifa that's gathered the Caucasian, the Indian, the Chinese, the Sham, the Iraqi, the Yemenis, the Egyptian, the North African, the American, the French, the German, the Australian. Allah brought them and their hearts together, and thus they became brothers by His grace, loving each other for the sake of Allah, standing in the trench, defending and guarding each other, and sacrificing themselves for one another. Their blood mixed became one under a single flag, a single goal, in one pavilion, enjoying this blessing, the blessings of faithful brotherhood. If kings were to taste this blessing, they would abandon their kingdoms and fight over this grace. So all praise and thanks are due Allah. Imagine that goes out to Muslims. That's the battle we got to fight. And we can beat it, folks, because our flamboyant words are true. Theirs aren't. See you tomorrow.